I have great respect for first responders and people who vow to serve and protect. Today on I Have a Headache, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite TV shows, 911. 911 is a TV show aired on Fox. It's also on Hulu, and it is about the lives of a team of first responders. There's paramedics, firefighters, a police officer, and a call center operator that the show follows. And it goes through the lives of these people on the job and also in their personal lives. One of the things I admire a lot about 911 is the fact that they are able to write in current events into the storyline and make it entertaining to watch, because you go along with the characters as they experience these current events. Something I noticed was that body positivity is shown in this show in a way that is not talking just about fat acceptance, which I know the fat acceptance movement has it has hijacked body positivity and made it into their own thing. Body positivity was originally about anyone who has any kind of anything on their body that isn't really considered beautiful, but they accept it and they move on with their life and they don't let it distract or detract them from doing things that they would otherwise normally do if they didn't have such a thing on them. The first example of body positivity in 911 is on the character Evan Buckley. He is one of the firefighters, and he has a birthmark on his left eye around like his eyebrow and his eye, and it's just something that he has to accept and live with, and he does a great job of doing that. And I think there may have been like one joke about it when someone first got to know him, but then that was it, and he just accepts it and moves on, and that's kind of how I feel like it should be. It shouldn't be something that needs to be constantly talked about and ad nauseum. Second example is there's a character named Christopher who's a child of one of the firefighters, and he has cerebral palsy, but he always seems like a happy child. He doesn't really let his disability get in the way of anything that he could do within reason, because he does have crutches. He leads a happy, normal life. Those are two great examples in the show of body positivity, and I enjoy that they put that in there without it being a huge movement statement obnoxiousness that we see a lot of times when these topics are talked about. Another thing this show does well is equality. It does equality very well. Without giving too many spoilers, I will not name the characters that are going through said things. The show tackles job problems. It's kind of a stereotype in society that women are the only ones that get left behind in jobs when things happen, like usually pregnancy for women makes them have to leave their job and then they can't come back to it because it's been given away, or they just have lost the opportunity or something like that. But in this show, they actually show that happening to one of the male characters, which I think is a good example of equality in the fact that the loss of a job due to an extenuating circumstance does happen to men and women. So it's kind of ridiculous in my eyes to say that women have it harder because of this. I don't think that that's the case. I think that the male side of it maybe isn't talked about as much for whatever reason. Probably to push a feminist narrative. So they say that women have it worse and women have it this and women have it that. But in reality, which is something I also want to promote on this channel, sort of pointing out the reality of things as opposed to the crazy shit that people do when they whine about certain groups have it worse and da 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 da. Like, just knock it off. Everyone has equal problems everywhere. Everybody has their own problems. You just gotta, like, learn from it, deal with it, figure out how to move on, become a better person. The second thing I wanted to point out about equality in this show, there is a single parent on the show and happens to be a male. And the reason I bring this up is because there is a stereotype of the deadbeat dad where men always leave the family because men are horrible and they can't or don't want to raise a child because only women like children. And that stereotype is stupid, because there are some women who don't like children, and there are women who also leave their families because they don't want to deal with children. In this case, the character is a single dad and he loves his kid. He does a really good job, and happens to men too. Women leaving the man with the child. It happens. Okay, and because this is a pro-equality channel, I'm going to be talking about two of my favorite characters, and I will always try to pick one man and one woman to highlight in the favorite characters section of the video. My first favorite character is Buck, actually. The person I talked about earlier with the birthmark. The reason I like Buck is because he's very passionate, and I related to him a lot because he has one passion in life. He wants to be a firefighter, and like, I don't want to be a firefighter, but I do want to be an actress, and that is and has always been my one passion in life. Basically, I admire Buck's determination to do anything he can to be and stay a firefighter and do the best that he can to do that. And he starts out, he's kind of like a playboy, so he can't really hold a relationship down kind of thing. But then his character evolves and he learns from things and he eventually falls in love with this girl. His character grows from just kind of like a irresponsible playboy, I guess, I don't know what else to call it, but he just had like casual things going on and he didn't really care. So he went from that to somebody who actually was able to care for one person really deeply, and I liked that about him because it showed that he had growth in his character. That's what happens, and that's kind of realistic. You do immature, silly things sometimes, and then you learn from them and you grow into a better person, and so I admire Buck for that. My second favorite character on the show is Athena Grant. She's the police officer. The main reason that I like Athena is because she is strong without being obnoxious about it. The main difference with the new rhetoric that's been happening in shows is there's always a line where women are like, I'm a strong woman, and it's like they have to say it. Instead of showing it. And it seems like in the new type of annoying stuff that I don't like, the show always kind of makes the woman say some kind of generic cliche feminist quote just to show she's strong, but then it always backfires in my eyes. But on 911, Athena is actually just strong. In her job, it shows when she has to deal with difficult people who are being obnoxious, like overly mean. There's one scene I remember, she is at a cemetery because there's a bunch of protesters protesting a funeral. Basically, Athena talks to them sternly without being mean or anything, as far as like, there's no, police brutality kind of nonsense or whatever. She's always very just firm and direct and authoritative. She actually upholds the law. So I think that's why I like Athena, because her character is showing that a police officer has to be authoritative, has to be direct, but does not have to be cruel. Those are my favorite things about 911 and why I really like the show, and I highly recommend it. I guess that's all for this video. Last but not least, as always, be civil. The only person who has to accept you is you, and